Hi, welcome to the YouTube channel. And recently we published a video on the new government policy where government is making it stricter and putting a guideline around what influencers should be doing in terms of their disclaimers, in terms of their relationship with the brand, etc. So those are things that will be mentioned in the new regulation that will come up. So around this, there were a lot of conversation that started around whether I should be doing influencer marketing, what should be the percentage of mix, when I should use it, when I should not use it, what should I be paying the influencer. So let's look at what is the purpose of influencer marketing in general. So one is we often start with saying, oh, this influencer has X amount of reach, and because this influencer has an X amount of reach, so I should be engaging with them, and I will get this much of reach and etc. So if you are reaching, if you are engaging with somebody for a reach, then you should ask certain question. If it is a generalized reach that you don't know who are their audience is very mixed audience. For example, if it is a entertainment channel, and in the entertainment channel you have a absolutely mix of audience, so you don't know whether you have the right audience based on your targeting and etc, are you reaching them or not. But if it's a general audience, then what will be the CPM that you will be paying if you would have taken a ad route rather than a influencer route. So in case of an ad route, you can just divide it by 10. From Indian context, just divide it by 10. So if you have to reach 50,000 people, you would end up paying 5,000 rupees in general. That's just a CPM of 100. I've just calculated on that basis. It can go plus minus depending on you making it niche, you making it broad and etc. But you can keep that as a overall general easy calculation. So how, or you can do some calculation plus minus. But and so let's assume that when you post something into this, that also you can calculate in certain ways. So for example, one of the tools that we use is called social blade. So you can use social blade. So for example, if you are going to Kylie Jenner and you are putting an you're doing an engagement, so you know that what is the amount, what's the followership that she has, and what is the kind of average likes you are expected to get, what is the average comment you are expected to get. And then you can do a reverse calculation and say that when you do a posting, what amount of reach will give you this kind of likes or this kind of comments and etc. But this is an average, because not every post that they do is on an endorsed post. Some of them are organic and etc, so that will have a much higher like. So you can do a reverse calculation saying that what is it that I'm expecting, the number of likes, number of comments, and based on that, what is the amount that I will be expecting to reach. So in the initial maybe around a year back, 2 year back, we would look at an engagement rate of 3% and above, where we will say that okay, this channel has a good engagement rate. But today, based on various calculations, you can take a call that what are you looking at from an engagement rate perspective that is considered to be good. Now there are multiple things, and I will come to that a little later. So overall, you will be looking at, okay, if I'm reaching a certain amount of people, if I had to reach with advertisement, what would be the cost difference that you will be looking at. Okay, so whether the cost difference is more, less, etc, that is an that will give you a perspective of it. Then you will look at, if it is not general, if it is a niche that you don't have an option to reach using advertisement, then uh, it's a good way of reaching out to people. For example, if you are reaching out to people who are MBA enthusiast, okay, and if they are following a certain channel, or if you're going to a certain website where there is a lot of data about or topic about MBA, then putting an advertisement is you're reaching out to a very sharp audience that gives you an additional value for your reach, because your wastage is less, so that you can look at it whether you're reaching a niche audience. Then the third is, are you reaching a strong follower, so that I can combine it with convincing and recommendation as well. So instead of reaching a person whom you don't know, nobody knows it, and then you are trying to introduce a product, rather than that, you're going via somebody who knows them. So when they talk about it, there is a different level of engagement, different level of convincing, different level of recommendation acceptance. That will be the case. So reach is one criteria that you can look at it, and along with that, the strong followership or niche reach. And then based on that, you can do a calculation and you can see whether this makes sense for me to reach, to use the reach and what is the cost that I will be incurring, and whether that cost is justified or not. And I also recommend that not always we engage with influencer for reach perspective. So sometimes what you can do is you can use them for content creation, because what a brand can say about their own product and what an influencer can say about the product is completely different, because brand will always be highlighting from their perspective, and an influencer can be somewhere in between a customer and the brand. So they have a lot of liberty to see various other pointers that you can't say as a brand. Now, if I'm using them for content creation, so I need to make sure that in my contract I have everything written very clearly, that how I will be using the video. For example, if they create the content and they put it on their channels, and after that they get a reach, and then the whole value of that content is done. You don't get any additional value from there. But on the other hand, if you have the contract where you say that I will be able to reuse that video on my advertisement, I'll be able to reuse the video on my website, then anybody who is coming from your advertisement also to the website will be able to see that kind of a content, and that will help them in convincing. Or when you're putting an advertisement, you can use this as one of the advertisement, maybe in a remarketing kind of a scenario where you can use that. So thus it has a much more value that you can generate out of the content which is created, which you cannot create the content. So when you're selecting a influencer who has a reach, and when you're selecting a influencer who can create better content, the selection criteria is completely different, because you need somebody who is more aligned to your brand when they are presenting. So maybe from the same industry, maybe somebody who's better presentable, somebody who looks more convincing, etc. So the criteria is very different. And whereas in the reach, you're looking at what this person has created in terms of their community, in terms of their reach, in terms of all of that. So both the criteria are very different. And I recommend that for reach, you need to be very careful. Are we going to get any kind of a value? And people know that if somebody is recommending a product or somebody is saying certain things, does that have any strong positive value out of it? Because what we have seen is, if we engage with 10 influencer, two influencers, when they engage with their community, we get immediate return, and we get real good value out of the post or out of the engagement that we have done. Whereas 8 may not even give us any kind of a return. And that ratio can be different for different kind of a brand that you can do. And the cost justification in a short term is very different. And the next thing that you will be looking at it is, okay, I've reached those people with a certain content using their community, but what is the way that I can have multiple frequencies with them? So if I have reached once, but that one reach is not sufficient for me, I need to talk to them multiple times to get them convinced. So with 3 or 4 reach, I becoming a brand, or I having a brand recall is much easier than just with the one frequency. But then what is my contract? Can I use the same influencer 3 4 times and do those kind of activities, so the people are seeing me 3 4 times within the channel? Then there is a option that maybe some of them will recall our brand at a later stage. Or if there is a link or something like that which is bringing the people back to my website, and then I will be able to do some advertisement on this. Or can I do an additional engagement with that influencer, saying that whoever is viewing your video, can I do a remarketing with them? Can you use this video to do remarketing? Because this is an unorganized sector, so it is up to you what type of engagement you can do with an influencer. And there are influencers who are very established. They have a very standard level of contract, and you cannot have too much of negotiation over there, because they will not like to enter into an area which will hurt their brand. But there are people who are a little flexible around that also can be used. End of the day, it is what you want to achieve out of it. And also, when they post anything organic on their channel, their organic reach is limited. So can they also boost their post to their existing community, not to an outside community, so that within that community who have interacted with them, so because they have a better say within that community, that can also be looked at. So there are multiple aspects that you're looking at. And as I said, there is a short term and long term view also that you can create, that what am I going to get from a short term perspective? Because many a times you expect that, okay, I'm going to post, or I'm going to do an engagement with influencers, and I'll get an immediate sales out of it. Maybe that's just one element out of it, but you need to look at the long term and short term value, that you able to get that content as an asset? Are you able to use that content in a different way and get some benefit out of it? The second is the reach that they have given, what percentage of that reach you can re-engage, can we do multiple frequency and use that for a different level of branding and creating a set of initial customers that will become the base for next level of customers. So the calculation and thinking about what is the right cost, how do I engage, so these all parameters will come into the picture, and with those parameters your benchmarking where you want to compare is, if I would have done the similar kind of an exercise with advertisement, what would it cost me? And then you can always put a premium on the influencer engagement, because the reach is an enhanced reach, the engagement is an enhanced engagement, because there is a recommendation in between, there is a fan following in between, where everything that they say is taken with a higher degree of acceptance. So thus you can always put a premium. Now you will have to look at what percentage of premium am I paying. Am I paying a 2x, am I paying a 5x, and is that worth? Okay. And will that add additional trust factor, or reason to believe in my brand goes up very massively because of that engagement or not? So multiple criteria will come into this. And can we use a calculation in etc? We do calculations for the brand, but for each of the brand the consideration criteria is different, and thus the calculation is also very different. And we do the calculation looking at various factor, and the way we will look at is, let's say, just taken some of the examples here. For example, if you look at a channel like this, so in this channel you will see that, okay, there is a 12.5 million subscribers, so the value will be put based on how many subscribers are there. So out of this, if I'm posting a day before, how many people are viewing it, and I can look at for last x number of days that the post has been done, what is the kind of reach that they have, because some reach is the followers who keeps coming back to your channel, and some reach is based on discoverability. So are these posts discoverable? For example, if you look at some of the posts of the past, you will be able to see that some of the posts have got very high level of engagement. So if you come across a post which will have a long time value and you are there, so you will be getting a dividend out of it, right? And it is not just based on the immediate result, but also there. But on the other side, there will be channels. For example, somebody like him, if you look at it, you can see that, okay, with 3.32 million, what is the engagement that you get when you post it? Or in certain other segment, like for example, if I take you know for example, here there is 476 followers, but whatever is being posted, you will not get so much of engagement, because there's no regular engagement that is happening on this front. But on the other side, let's say if I take somebody like, say, Vivek Bajaj, who will have let me just take up like this Vivek Bajaj. So because this is an industry where people will be very keen to look at every day on those areas. So if I go there, so even if though Vivek might have similar kind of a fan following a little higher, but the engagement rate that they will get organically when they're posting and etc, because these are people who are constantly looking at the post, constantly looking at this. So you will have to look at it whenever a new post comes up, how many people are viewing it immediately. So that gives you a sense of how many followers a particular channel has, which whenever we post, the people are coming back and regularly consuming it. And the second is in a period, because certain post has a validity, that post does not have a long term validity, certain post has a long term validity. So thus, or videos or content that you're creating has a long term validity. So thus, what is discoverability out of it? So we had some videos where when we posted, we had very less engagement, but throughout the year, when we look at it, we had millions of views, all organic, and this was all through discoverability rather than discoverability search and etc. People were searching for such kind of keywords, and through that they were discovering such kind of videos. So depending on all of those criteria, you can decide, and always compare it with your benchmarking advertisement. Is it worth or not worth? Happy to take up some of the questions that you have, and we'll create some more videos. I hope this gives you some more perspective of how to look at influencer from different dimensions while making your influencer marketing decisions.